Hello everyone, you're now with me, Ruben Gomez for the Nightline. Hope you all okay with me. And now let's moving on to the news. The Ministry of Education is currently in its final stages of their study in determining whether to continue or abolish the Ujian Pencapaian Sekolah Rendah UPSR. According to the Deputy Education Minister, Muslimin Yahya, his ministry would be making an announcement regarding their decision soon. If the decision was made to abolish UPSR, the Deputy Minister said that no other exam will be introduced to replace it. Instead, primary school students' academic achievement would be gauged through their overall performance, essay tests, and an interview process which would determine their place in 5 different types of secondary schools. Meanwhile, President of Sarawak Bumiputra Teachers Union KGBS Ahmad Mali agrees with the idea of abolishing the UPSR examination as it would not affect the education quality in Malaysia. However, even though KGBS said UPSR should be abolished, it noted that it should not be done immediately. Parents and stakeholders, meanwhile, are torn over the National Union of the Teaching Professions and UTP renewed calls to abolish the UPSR examinations. Here are their views.
There should be a classroom-based assessment which are effective enough and strong enough that can help the students determine which path can they enter into secondary schools later.
学生就不会很有压力哦，我们学生也会更专注在学习上，更开心。
Construction and upgrading works of a seawall around Sebuyau is now rigorously underway. Assistant Minister of Infrastructure and Port Development, Datuk Julaihi Narawi, said that these projects, which began in October this year, are designed to mitigate the king tide phenomenon that has often triggered flooding in the area. According to Julaihi, the allocation for this project is part of the 500 million ringgit fund from the Sarawak State Government through the Integrated Regional Samarahan Development Agency IRSDA. Julaihi said 2 construction companies are responsible for the completions of the project: Green Chain Capital Sendirian Berhad and Putra Sentosa Enterprise Sendirian Berhad. The 2 companies are chosen through a tender process that is managed by the Department of Irrigation and Drainage Sarawak DID Samarahan Divisional Office and is expected to be completed by October 2022. Julaihi explained that Sebuyau has 4 seawall blocks, namely Block A, D, E and... Right, and now the COVID-19 update nationwide. Malaysia today recorded 1,335 new COVID-19 cases, taking the cumulative confirmed infection in the country to 72,694. Meanwhile, 1,069 COVID-19 recoveries were reported today. This brings the total recoveries so far to 61,273 cases. Ministry of Health also informed that there are 3 new clusters that have been identified today, namely Ceram Cluster, Berhala Island Cluster and Jalan Tampoy Cluster.
According to the Ministry of Health, Sabah remains the worst hit state with 391 cases detected in the past 24 hours till noon today. The Klang Valley comprising Selangor with 221 cases, Kuala Lumpur with 265 cases, and Putrajaya with 4 cases add up to 490 new cases today. In Selangor, 3 districts, namely Sabak Bernam, Hulu Selangor, and Kuala Selangor, will not be under the CMCO. Meanwhile, the CMCO in Perak, Kelantan, Penang, Negeri Sembilan, Labuan, and Putrajaya will be lifted from midnight tomorrow. Over in Sarawak, spa, massage, and reflexology services can now resume operations on December 7, 2020. According to a statement by the SDMC, the industry would need to adhere to the stipulated standard operating procedure, however, and practice strict hygiene as well as wear masks and gloves to ensure that everyone stays safe. In other news, individuals entering Sarawak from other states do not have to apply for a permit from the Royal Police from December 7 onwards. Meanwhile, Sarawak reported no new COVID-19 cases today, maintaining the total cumulative tally of cases at 1,068. 2 clusters have ended, namely the Jalan Baki cluster and Selada cluster, while the remaining clusters are the Besi cluster, Green Hill cluster, Wisma Sebarkas cluster, and Jalan Abel cluster. Kuching and Miri remain as yellow zones with a total of 4 local transmission cases reported in the last 14 days, 3 of them in Kuching. The remaining 37 districts maintain their status as green zones.
The number of people arrested nationwide for flouting the Movement Control Order (MCO) continues to be in the 3-figure range. 518 individuals were detained yesterday, of which all but one of them were issued with compounds and the other remanded.
Senior Minister for Security Cluster Datuk Ismail Sabri Yaakob said that the failure to comply with physical distancing accounted for the highest number of offences at 193 cases, while activities at entertainment centres recorded 119 cases. As of yesterday, Ismail Sabri said 2,361 compliance teams involving 11,682 personnel had carried out monitoring at 3,534 supermarkets, 4,880 restaurants, as well as 1,623 hawker stalls, 1,293 factories, 3,377 banks, and 508 government offices. Also monitored were 1,024 land transport terminals, 237 water transport terminals, and 62 air transport terminals. On Ops Benteng, Ismail Sabri said 47 foreigners have been arrested as a result of tight control of the country's borders by the Royal Malaysian Police, Malaysian Armed Forces, Malaysian Maritime Enforcement Agency, and Malaysian Border Security Agency.
The Health Ministry's National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Agency (NPRA) has so far not received any documents from Pfizer for evaluation, registration and testing of the COVID-19 vaccine. Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah said the ministry has no direct information on whether there have been any problems in the supply of the vaccine as reported by a foreign media agency. Dr. Noor Hisham was commenting on a Reuters report on December 4th, which, among others, said that the pharmaceutical company may not be able to meet its production target for the vaccine for 2020 due to a lack of raw materials. He said it was the NPRA's responsibility to ensure all products go through the evaluation and testing process based on the principles of quality, safety and effectiveness. Apart from that, he said NPRA also ensures that the quality, safety and effectiveness of vaccines and registered medicines are always guaranteed through the Quality Product Monitoring Program and pharmacovigilance. Right, meanwhile in Britain, as we know, the COVID-19 going to roll out. So where is it? So this is it. Britain is preparing to become the first country to roll out the Pfizer/BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine this week. Britain's government said it will initially make the vaccine shots available at hospitals before distributing stocks to doctors' clinics. The first doses are set to be administered on Tuesday, with the National Health Service giving top priority to vaccinating the over 80s, frontline healthcare workers and care home staff and residents. Britain gave emergency use approval for the vaccine developed by Pfizer and BioNTech last week, jumping ahead in the global race to begin the most crucial mass inoculation program in history. In total, Britain has ordered 40 million doses, enough to vaccinate 20 million people in the country of 67 million. About 800,000 doses are expected to be available within the first week. Perak plunged into a political crisis after former Menteri Besar Datuk Seri Ahmad Faizal Azumu failed to get majority support in a vote of confidence at the State Assembly on Friday. Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi arrived at Istana Kinta in Ipoh for an audience with Sultan of Perak, Sultan Nazrin Shah, following the latest political crisis in the state.
Ahmad Zahid, who is also Bagan Datuk Member of Parliament, had attended the Perak UMNO Liaison Committee meeting last night. Meanwhile, the UMNO president said that Barisan Nasional and UMNO will look into a new alliance if they cannot retain the existing coalition under Perikatan Nasional to form a government. Only 10 assemblymen supported him, 48 did not support him, while another abstained after a written vote was conducted on a motion submitted by Datuk Abdul Manaf Hashim. This is to prove that Ahmad Faisal still had the confidence and majority support of the State Assembly to lead the state government as Perak Menteri Besar. Perak has 59 assemblymen comprising 25 from Barisan Nasional, Bersatu 5, PAS 3, DAP 16, PKR 3, Amanah 5, Gerakan 1 and Independent 1.
Meanwhile, Sultan of Perak Sultan Nazrin Shah has accepted the resignations of Datuk Sri Ahmad Faisal Azumu as Menteri Besar and that of the other State Executive Council members yesterday.
Comptroller of the Perak Royal Household Datuk Abdul Rahim Muhammad Noor Said Ahmad Faisal submitted his letter of resignation during an audience with Sultan Nazrin at Istana Kintahir at 3 p.m. yesterday. Having lost the majority support of the members of the State Assembly, Ahmad Faisal's position as Perak Menteri Besar is directly affected. Abdul Rahim said Sultan Nazrin also expressed his appreciation to the outgoing State Executive Council members for their services.
Sarawak will build an international standard sports academy, fully equipped with the latest technology to help to groom the state's youths into world-class athletes. Chief Minister Datuk Petinggi Abang Johari Tun Openg said Sarawak is also committed to further expand the development of youths in the state in line with its mission to become a developed state by 2030.
He said this in his speech during the state-level 2020 Youth Day celebration at the Asajaya Sports Complex in Samarahan. This year's Youth Day celebration theme, Belia Pemacu Transformasi Digital Sarawak, involves students from schools as well as public and private institutions of higher learning, as well as members of the public aged between 15 and 40.
Kita melihat apa yang telah berlaku di New Zealand. New Zealand, negara yang kecil, yang pun populasi yang 4 juta. Tapi dengan latihan yang telah diberi kepada para belia mereka menjadi champion dalam coklat Olimpik. Kenapa? Kerana pusat latihannya adalah terkini. Jadi saya dan rakan-rakan dalam kerajaan Sarawak telah bersetuju untuk mewujudkan Sport Academy dengan harga yang boleh tahan juga. Jadi kita laksanakan dasar itu. Ini semuanya untuk belia.
Meanwhile, the players in the sports industry welcomed the announcement made by the Chief Minister to bring sports in the state to the next level.
Ia adalah satu kejayaan Menteri Negeri Sarawak punya benda-benda itu benar materialize. Kenapa? Sarawak bercita-cita untuk menjadi sport powerhouse kan?
I think satu berita yang paling bagus lah, sebagai orang sukan. I think kita sudah sampai masanya kita ada benda tu lah. Dan apa yang dicadangkan oleh Ketua Menteri kita, satu yang harus kita sokong sepenuhnya tanpa mempolitikkan benda lah, sebab pada kami lah di Sarawak kita banyak sekali talent yang boleh kita gilap.
Dengan turunnya akademi ini diharapkan dapat menyediakan perkhidmatan yang bertaraf antarabangsa dalam menyumbang kepada pembangunan atlet yang berprestasi tinggi bagi memastikan negeri Sarawak sentiasa mempunyai pool of atlet yang sentiasa bersedia mengikut kejuaraan di dalam atau luar negara.
On another note, the runner-up for IFA 2019 in Poland, Abigail Key hopes that the academy will be guided by qualified coaches for every type of sports.
I hope that they can actually hire coaches that actually is a part of the sport or like the knowledge, have the knowledge about the sport. I don't want just a random coach because that will affect the student training or the knowledge of the actual sport. I hope they can hire a good coach.
Olympic Council Malaysia urged the government to allow for swift return to sports activities that have been halted since March, following the COVID-19 pandemic. According to OCM, sports enthusiasts are ready to return to sporting activities while adhering to SOPs set by the relevant government agencies.
In a statement, OCM said the main goal is to ensure that the athletes can start their preparations for competitions that are planned for next year. That was one of the key points that were agreed upon during the 195th Executive Council meeting. The 39th Annual General Assembly held following the conclusion of the council meeting, so OCM members approving the annual report for the year 2019 and the audited accounts for the year ending December 31st, 2019. Both meetings were chaired by OCM President Tan Sri Dato Sri Norza Zakaria and were attended by members of the OCM Executive Board as well as the representative from the Ministry of Youth and Sports, National Sports Council, National Sports Institution, Ministry of Education, and the Athletes Commission.
The effort to improve the quality of Sarawakian craft, especially songket, will be continued. Cemisa Datuk Petinggi Abang Johari Tun Openg said the Sarawak Songket will be nominated under the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization 2003 Convention UNESCO to earn international recognition.
He added, UNESCO recognition will positively impact the arts in Sarawak and at the same time elevate the traditional craft to a higher level.
Dan saya harap intangible benefit ini sudah tentu akan memberi kesan yang sangat positif di dalam kita nak membangunkan seni kraft yang terdapat di negeri Sarawak.
He said this during the inaugural Sarawak Music Fashion Galore SAMFAC 2020 in Kuching. Abang Johari added, Sarawak government have and will always support the crafts industry through the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture.
Kerjaan kita memang mendokong, memberi sokongan melalui Kementerian Datuk Karim kepada pihak-pihak NGO yang ingin hendak menaikkan kualiti dan juga hasil kraft kita di negeri.
Representing the land of hornbills internationally through Sarawak Songket, fashion designers expressed their pride and joy through their fashion collections during the inaugural Sarawak Music Fashion Galore 2020.
Sebagai designer Sarawak yang dijemput untuk memperagakan koleksi saya dengan menggunakan songket-songket Sarawak, saya rasa macam sangat berbangga because kita nak memartabatkan songket Sarawak di mata dunia. Jadi saya tampil dengan koleksi saya yang modern, sophisticated yang boleh diterima di bukan sahaja di Malaysia tapi di luar negara. Di mana dalam rekaan saya menggunakan motif songket, motif rose duduk iaitu motif asli Sarawak yang hanya terdapat di Sarawak. Jadi itu saya tampilkan dalam rekaan-rekaan saya. Tapi diolah dengan menjadi moden.
So susah sikit because si banyak orang yang molah benda ya and then nya mahal. Mahal nang macam ni nya bahan-bahan yang macam benangnya susah dioleh.
Do believe that tetapi kita kena ada usaha untuk mewar-warkan ataupun how are we going to expose songket. I think it shouldn't stop here. We need to do more untuk kita expose songket keluar daripada Malaysia.
Well, that's conclude the Nightline. Remember, the war on COVID-19 haven't ended yet. The pandemic, the infection is still everywhere. Always adhere to SOP, practice physical distancing, wear your mask everywhere, and wash your hand whatever object you touch. Ruben Gomez for the Nightline. Anytime, anywhere. Thank you.